Warning: some contents may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. For context, I'm a 20-year-old female. I started OnlyFans account over the summer to support myself through school, and things were great until I posted my Amazon wishlist. Amazon doesn't release your address to people who gift you items, but third-party sellers can, and that's where I went wrong. By the way, I'm not trying to promote it here. This is a very frightening story, and I just felt like I should share it. In late July, I got a puppy. One night at around 2 a.m., I took him outside to go to the bathroom. While he was doing his business, I noticed a car parked outside my family home. I saw a figure in the car, and I could tell that they were looking at me, but I couldn't make out their face because it was pitch black outside. Feeling a bit uneasy, I picked up my puppy to take him back inside. And when I started to move, the car parked in my driveway. I sprinted back inside and locked the door, but they never approached my house. The next morning, I went to check the mail and there was an envelope inside to my OF name with $20 in it, but no note. I was currently still at home with my parents, who had no idea about my OnlyFans account, so I didn't mention it to them. A week later, I moved back to my college town to get ready to start school. At this time, I'd stopped posting for the time being until I could figure out how they got my address. I've watched enough crime shows to know that there's a possibility that I could be in danger. I lived in a duplex with a gated parking lot for reference. One morning, I was planning on vlogging my trip to Target because I was planning on starting a YouTube channel in the near future since OnlyFans felt unsafe. When I got to my car, it had been ransacked and my vlogging camera was missing. I know, it's my fault for leaving it in my car, but I was using it the night before, and since I live in a gated area, I didn't think that I would be unsafe. It wasn't in plain sight either. I had it hidden in my glove box. I used the camera to film my content, and the SD card that was in there had all of my unreleased photos and videos. I know they stole it just for the SD card. Well, anyway, this is where the story gets weird. There are cameras outside in the parking lot, so we were able to watch this person break into my car and find the camera. And they didn't touch any of the 7 other cars on the lot. They just knew which car was mine, which suggests that they have been watching me for a bit. After they got the camera, they walked around the duplex until stopping near my window. My bedroom faces an outside street, and my blinds are broken, so it's very easy to see in. I have a curtain, but it doesn't really cover my window all the way. This person watched me sleep for an hour or so, and I have no idea why they didn't try to break in, but thank God they didn't. This person then sold the camera to a pawn shop, and since I knew the serial number, the police were able to find it. However, my SD card was missing. I believe the police are still trying to track them down, but I have broken my lease and I moved to a new place. So hopefully that will keep me safe. So, to the guy who terrorized me at my home and my apartment and also stole my camera, let's not meet. I am a female, and I would like to tell you about an experience that I had with my dog at that time. English is not my mother language, so I apologize in advance for any mistakes. It's been about 11 years. It was autumn and night, and I decided to take a little walk around our housing estate with my dog Sunny. Sunny is a black and a big Labrador mix. She's a really good and cuddly dog, but she hates other female dogs. She also has a strong protective instinct and always snarls when she doesn't know or doesn't like someone or something. There were no streetlights inside the settlement. The only lighting was always at the house entrances. There was a small park with small playgrounds between the rows of houses. But, as already mentioned, everything was in complete darkness. That's why Sunny was not to be seen, only to be heard now and then when she is chasing a rabbit into the bushes. Then, it goes without saying that she wasn't on a leash. I only need this when the other female dogs are nearby. Sunny listens to my word and always comes when I call her. So, while I strolled comfortably through the dark settlement and froze my ass, Sunny ran happily through the area and the bushes. I always only guessed where she was because I couldn't see her. I only heard her from time to time. At some point, I noticed a small shadow that was whizzing around me. When I looked more closely, I could see that it was Sunny. She ran in large circles around me and the place where I was, and I thought that she was just chasing something. But the circle she drew grew smaller and smaller. She didn't make any noise, and I went on comfortably because I thought she was having her 5 minutes of being crazy. At some point, I didn't see her anymore, but I went on knowing that she would follow me. Then I heard a sound. Footsteps, but they were not my own. I was startled because they were so close behind me so suddenly. So I turned around, but I couldn't see anything thanks to the darkness. I really got nervous and I called for Sunny because it could have been someone with a dog. Sunny didn't come, and I easily panicked. But then, she suddenly stood in front of me out of nowhere and began to growl as violently as she has never done before. My blood froze because it couldn't be a good thing. And then she started walking straight ahead, growling about 2 or 3 meters, stopped, and at that moment, I recognized a figure completely in black. This person was shocked in front of Sunny and didn't move, and Sunny started barking like there was no tomorrow. The person slowly walked backwards towards the lighted house entrances. And then I saw Sunny bare teeth in front of a young man who was wearing a hooded sweater and probably started to experience the same fears as I did when I noticed him. Because as close as he had sneaked up on me, he couldn't have any good in mind. Since it was too dark, however, he could not see Sunny, and she must have surprised him at the right moment. Sunny started to jump, and at the right moment, the guy let out a scream, and you could hear something falling from his hand on the floor. He ran, and my dog followed. After I had released myself from my shocked stiffness, I called out for Sunny as loud as I could. Until after a short time, she was standing in front of me again, wagging her tail. I took her on the leash and then went to where the guy had dropped something. And indeed, there was an arm-thick branch on the floor that he certainly didn't have with him to throw sticks. At home, it gradually dawned on me that my Sunny did not have her 5 minutes when she circled me, but that she had long since noticed and kept an eye on this piece of shit just to protect me. On one hand, that was creepy, but also a relief. And I was and still am so grateful for this great dog, Sunny. Okay, so last year around this time, it all began. Past circumstance. Last year on a Saturday night, shortly after 1 a.m., I heard someone creep up my staircase. I live in a 2-story home on the 2nd floor. I heard the cracking of the wood steps, and I paused my TV show and I listen. I hear it some more, then I hear a long pause. Then nothing. But then, I hear my doorknob jiggling. I freak out, and I know it's not the woman downstairs because she's gone for the night. I went straight to the door. I have one of those doors where it's half-glass window. Because I live in a tiny town and my upstairs staircase is covered, so technically, no one can see inside unless they are standing right at the door. And even at that, all they can see is part of my doorway into the bedroom and my hallway. Nothing more. So I had the light on at that door inside, and the outside light was off. So when I went to the door, I couldn't see out of it. I couldn't see who was there. But when I showed myself at the door, obviously the doorknob stopped jiggling. Because I made my presence known, and they could obviously fully see me because my lights were on. I shut the inside lights off real quick as an attempt to see who was out there. But it took my eyes too long to adjust, and as I shut the lights off, I simultaneously hit the second lock on my door. And that's when the person on the other side of the door started banging on it. I couldn't see who it was, and quite honestly, once the banging had started, I bolted, and so did they. So I tried to look out my windows to catch a glimpse of who it could be, but I couldn't see anything. The exit of the staircase is too close to the house for me to have a full view from the second floor, which is really a shame. So I called the cops and I filed a report and all was good in the world. I equipped my home with a wasp spray hidden in every corner. I did develop major anxiety over it though, like major anxiety. I had never ever been afraid to live alone before this, but I have worked through it for the most part and have gotten better since this was last year. I even got a camera that I have at my door that streams to an app on my phone. Ongoing minor issues. In the last couple of months, I have been having issues though. I park in the little lot across the street. The little lot belongs to the church that I live next to. However, I am allowed to park there. I keep finding the sides of my license plates completely bent outwards at a 90-degree angle every morning. I know this because I put them back in place every day, so the plates are flat because you can't drive around with your plates like that. And pretty much every day of the week, I go outside to find my plates bent back. I know it's not the wind, and I know it doesn't happen while I'm driving because I check. My dad, however, has convinced me that it could be the car wash. I get my car washed at least once a week or two, and it's the kind where you just pay a machine and sit in your car. So I just pushed it off. But then recently, I came home to find 3 things on a little shelf that I keep outside my door. 2 small crystal bowls and a little flower pot with a golden retriever on it. At first I thought, my sister or maybe my grandma probably just left it for me. I texted them about it, and they both said no, that they didn't leave anything. They both live on my block, so I thought it would be probable for them to just do that. But then, both of them said that it wasn't them. Then, my next thought would be that it's my mom. See, anytime my mom gets me stuff, she leaves it on her front sunroom, which she calls her porch. So, she will always text me a pic of what she got me and say, "It's here on the porch. Get it when you stop by next, okay?" In the next year and a half that I've lived in this apartment, she has never left something on my porch. Also, my camera was dead, so I texted her about it and she didn't answer, which is really like her. If it doesn't pertain to her, she doesn't answer. Also, I'm slightly confused about the golden retriever planter because everyone knows that I'm a cat person, and that's what everyone who knows me gets me. What happened tonight? Tonight, At 1:19 a.m., I was in my bedroom texting my sister when I heard banging on my door again. The lady who lives downstairs is gone for the night again. This exact same thing happened a year ago too. A Saturday night, right after 1 a.m. All the lights in my apartment were on, so they knew that I was home. If they wanted to break in, they could have. If they wanted my valuables, they have 60 hours out of the week every single week this last year to do so. So no, whoever is messing with me just wants to mess with me. I didn't know what to do, and my phone was on the other side of the apartment, and I couldn't get to it without going past the door. So I told my sister through text messaging on my laptop, and she called the cops for me. They arrived and I knew because I saw them searching the property with their flashlights, and I met them at the door. I filed a report and I noped out of there, and now I'm sleeping at my sister's house for the night. But this is seriously freaking me out. Someone is messing with me in a very serious way. They know that I'm home, they know when I'm up, and they know the woman who lives downstairs is gone. They know the camera isn't charged, and coincidentally, these things keep happening when my camera is in charge, which takes hours to do, and I am so paranoid of leaving something charged while I'm asleep or not at home. I don't have any enemies in this area, and I don't really know anyone in this town except for a co-worker or two, my landlord, and my family, who is really new to the area as well. I don't have any ex-boyfriends that's trying to scare me, and I haven't fought with anyone who is trying to get revenge on me. But I should mention that about 9 or 10 years ago, I did have a bit of a stalker situation in which a 55-year-old man who lived adjacent to my job, he came in every day for a year. We never spoke directly or had a conversation. He would leave me notes on my car, and the first one he left me was a 5-page letter speaking about how compatible we were with one another. He mentioned things in the letter that I would speak about with other customers in regards to our compatibility. He even mentioned that he believes that he could sexually please me. Something along the lines of how I am a special person and he has what it takes, and it's the kind of special that most people don't have what it takes. He would leave me crystal and tea cards on my car. Well, anyways, I got a restraining order on him, and he was no longer allowed to enter my job. He would occasionally stare at me through the cracks in his blinds, and that was about it. I moved out of the state and nothing ever happened of it. So, that could be a possibility too. This happened a few years ago when I was bartending in college. I was coming home down a stretch of divided highway at around 3 a.m. when I noticed a car heading towards me in the wrong lane. I doubted myself at first and thought the car was on the other side of the highway, but sure enough, a white Ford sedan passed me at a really high speed. It's worth noting for later that I also drive a white Ford sedan. I was used to drunk or idiot drivers in the middle of the night, so I just pulled to the side of the road and let him pass me. I had a moment of clarity and thought to call the police, thinking that this person could hurt themselves or somebody else. The dispatcher answered, and after telling them which road or exit mile marker I was at, they told me that they would send a car. The state police station was only a few exits away, so I figured that they would send somebody and I would just drive home. As I headed back onto the highway, I noticed some lights a few miles behind me. I live in a more rural part of southeastern Pennsylvania, and traffic at 3 a.m. tends to be truckers or cops. The car gained on me as I was getting up to speed, so I stayed in the right lane and waited to be passed. Instead, They flipped on their high beams, making it uncomfortable to drive, and rode my tailgate. At this point, I thought I was going to be pulled over by the police. I drove a white Ford sedan and had just called about a different white Ford sedan, so I grabbed my registration from my glove box. But suddenly, the car behind me audibly slammed on their brakes and stopped in the middle of the highway. They must have shut off their car because the lights went out and I saw what looked like the same Ford sedan from earlier. But still, I thought this may have been a police car. They had a roof rack, and it could have looked like I was reaching for a gun in my glove box. I panicked, and I called 911 for the second time, and I asked the dispatcher if they had sent a cruiser to investigate. The dispatcher was a little curt with me and assured me that they sent somebody out. Dispatcher said, "We have sent the trooper out to find the car, sir," they said. "I only ask because somebody is following me and they're acting weird. It could be a cop and I think I freaked them out by getting my registration," I answered. "Are you pulled over?" they asked. "No, but they didn't turn on their lights." And the dispatcher once again told me, "Let me try to get the trooper we sent out." As he was talking, the car again sped towards me and stopped inches from my bumper. Again, their high beams were on, and again, they slammed on their brakes. I told the dispatcher, "I'm pretty sure this is not the police behind me." And the car sped to my bumper again and turned their high beams on, this time laying on the horn. Hearing this, the dispatcher asked me what was happening. They said, "What's happening? Did you honk?" "No, that's the car behind me. I don't think it's a cop." "I'll try to get the trooper again, but I don't think that's them behind you," the dispatcher said. For some reason, this was what shook me. Before that, I was thinking that I would get pulled over and maybe get a ticket. Up until then, I was going to the speed limit and trying to avoid getting pulled over. I told the dispatcher, "I don't care if I get pulled over. I'm speeding, and if they get their lights on, then I'll pull over." I started to accelerate, and the person behind me just kept up with me. The speed limit was 55, and they kept on my bumper the entire time, but this time they were swerving. I tried to signal for an exit and then bail on it, but they followed. And at the next exit, I took the off-ramp and then continued onto the on-ramp, and the car behind me followed the whole time. I thought about trying to go to Wawa, but the dispatcher and I thought that it would be unsafe. He was calm and talking to another person, trying to send police to me. The other person, maybe a supervisor, asked if I could drive to a state police station. Realizing that I was one exit away, I told him that I was coming there, and he said that he would have the troopers meet me outside. As I pulled off to the exit, the car followed me. I blew a few red lights trying to get to the police station, and the car tried to pull into the other lane to pass me or to pull up alongside me. Once the police station was in view, I put on my turn signal, and the car slammed on its brakes again. They turned off their lights and then turned into a parking lot. The story ends kinda anticlimactically as I pulled into the police station and met the troopers. 2 of them went to find the car, and I stayed with the 3rd trooper. I thanked the dispatcher and her supervisor, and the state trooper escorted me home after taking a statement from me. I was never called to follow up or testify, so I can only assume that the person didn't get caught. When I was in 8th and 10th grade, I was extremely involved in this small building server. The average age was probably 15 to 17, and I joined a group of builders and I Skyped with them every weekend for hours. We all became close fast and trusted each other enough that we followed each other on Instagram. I became particularly close with one of the builders in my friend group named Peter. Peter was in the same grade as me, and we ended up texting quite a lot. I heard rumors that Peter might have a crush on me. He denied them, which I found laughable because it was the internet and I just brushed it off. Everything was fine for a while until something began to feel off when I talked to him. I was starting to constantly catch him telling small lies. This bothered me, so I figured that it was time to distance myself from Peter, and I stopped talking to him. Cut to a few months later of no contact, and Peter out of the blue texts me that he was going to be possibly transferring to my high school so he can get an in-state tuition for college. Peter's plan is to somehow live completely alone and support himself while in high school. My stomach drops when I read the text, and I know this feels very, very off. I try to be calm, and I tell him that his plan is crazy. I tell him that it's oddly convenient that he chose my random suburb. Peter insists that his plan will work and it's just a coincidence that he is going to my high school. I'm trying to call Peter's bluff and hoping that he is just screwing with me because I cut him off. Peter says that he bought the plane tickets already and is going to stay in my town and visit some high schools in the area. Fear washes over me, and I realize that Peter definitely has some very unhealthy attachment to me. Peter was not bluffing. To my horror, he posted a picture on Snapchat at the airport. Peter asked to meet up while he's there, and I of course decline. Later, I see on his Snapchat story that he is taking a tour of my high school. Peter is taking lots of videos and pictures, probably hoping that I can see. Luckily, I am stuck at home with pneumonia. I spent the next few days on edge, and I was afraid that he was going to ring my doorbell at any moment. Luckily, he was not smart enough to find where I live, and he flies home and does not follow his plan. The baffling part was, none of my old group on the Minecraft server thought that he was doing anything creepy. I felt like I was going crazy for thinking that this was weird. I thought my rejection for this meetup would be the end of it. But about 2 years later, and I just committed to my dream college, I still, stupidly, followed Peter on social media because I wanted some warning if he came to my area. And once again, Peter did. I see him posting in front of the library at my college with a caption saying, "Transferring here is definitely the move." And cut to a few months later, Peter finds out that I had a boyfriend and directly contacts me for the first time in 2 years. He starts asking strange questions like, "Well, will he protect you?" I shouldn't have answered, but for some reason I did. I finally blocked him and I stopped following him on social media out of fear. He has not tried to contact me since. I definitely made some mistakes because I was young and scared, and I had others telling me that it was not a big deal. So Peter, let's not meet. And here are the top comments for my last video. And here's the riddle for this video. Hello everyone, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. But I would also like to thank my amazing patrons, my top tippers, and my dearest channel members. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it with all of my heart. If you want to support the channel further, you could also choose to become a patron, a tipper, or a channel member. But remember, it's appreciated, but never a requirement. I would also like to announce that we have merch now. The link is in the description of the video, along with all my other social media links, like my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, and others. You can connect with me and send your stories there. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and comments are highly appreciated. And remember, your fear feeds me.